There's a part of Regeneration in Doctor Who that we almost never talk about. Not the exposition of light, not the dramatic final words, not even the shock of a new face staring back through the Regeneration haze. I mean the moment just before all of that. The quiet second where nothing appears to be happening, where the Doctor hasn't quite gone yet and hasn't quite become someone new either. It's a moment the show rarely acknowledges, but it's there every time. That pause, that time for a breath. And if regeneration really were random, if it were purely biological, that moment wouldn't matter much. But regeneration has never behaved like a dice roll. The show itself keeps insisting otherwise.
I don't want to go.
Regeneration responds to need. Sometimes it responds to trauma, sometimes it responds to guilt, sometimes to exhaustion, sometimes to a lesson the Doctor is afraid to forget. Faces return, faces echo, faces repeat when the Doctor needs reminding of who they are. And once you accept that, regeneration stops being a special effect and starts being a decision, even if the Doctor isn't always fully conscious of making it. So what happens when the thing that needs healing isn't just the Doctor? Over the last few years, Doctor Who hasn't simply been evolving. It's been under pressure, audience reactions have been unusually polarised, ratings have been inconsistent, online discussion has felt louder, sharper, more emotionally charged than it has been in such a long time. Russell T Davies has acknowledged this openly, saying that Doctor Who has always endured storms, but also making it clear that the noise has been heard. And it isn't just the fandom. Behind the scenes, things have felt unstable too. The Disney Plus partnership, once positioned as a bold new era, ended far sooner than we all expected, described by industry reporting as a creative and financial mismatch. Whether viewers loved or disliked that period, it created a sense that the show was still searching for solid ground. That matters because Doctor Who is not a show that exists in a vacuum. It never has. It feeds on its audience. It responds to cultural mood. It reinvents itself not every few years, but every few episodes. And within the logic of its own universe, the Doctor is exactly the kind of being who would feel that tension. The Doctor is essentially psychic. They sense temporal fractures. They feel emotional stress in the fabric of reality. They notice when something that should be whole is splintered. If the relationship between the show and its audience was strained, if trust was wobbling, it's not unreasonable to think that they feel that too. Not as anger, not as resentment, just as a low-level hum of unease, emotional static. So imagine the moment before the regeneration with that in mind. The Doctor standing inside the Tardis as the energy builds, knowing the change is coming. But instead of fear or excitement or desperation, there's thoughtfulness. A pause longer than usual. A look around the console room as if he's taken stock of more than just his surroundings. This time maybe the question isn't, who am I becoming? Maybe it's not even, who do I need to be? Maybe it's something entirely different. What face would help them trust me again? That question reframes everything. Because if the Doctor has ever regenerated for others before, it's always been for their companions, or enemies, or the people he failed to save. This time, it wouldn't be about an individual at all. It would be about the story itself, about the people who have been watching it, sometimes joyfully, sometimes angrily, sometimes with tired affection, for 20 years of revival. And that's where Billie Piper stops being a rumour and starts being a symbol. This isn't about Rose Tyler literally returning as the Doctor. It isn't about shock casting or nostalgia for its own sake. Billie Piper's face carries weight in Doctor Who that no other actor's does, because she isn't just associated with the character. She's associated with an era where the show found its feet again, where it proved that it could come back from absence and matter to people all over again. Russell T Davies has said repeatedly that Rose was the emotional heart of the revival. Not the most important character, not the smartest by far, not the most powerful, but the one that made everything else make sense. The one that grounded the madness. And the show itself has already told us that her face means something deeper in universe. In the Day of the Doctor, the moment doesn't choose a random form. It chooses Rose. Not because she's physically there, but because her image represents conscience, connection, and memory. It's the face the Doctor associates with being pulled back from the edge, with remembering who he is when everything else has gone wrong. That's not fan interpretation, that's textual canon. And Doctor Who has been increasingly explicit about the Doctor's relationship with faces. The 12th Doctor didn't randomly regenerate with Caecilius' face.
Why this one? Why did I choose this face? It's like I'm trying to tell myself something. Like I'm trying to make a point. But what is so important that I can't just tell myself what I'm thinking?
He did it because he needed a reminder to save people.
I know these teeth. What? What? What?
The 14th Doctor returned to an old face because the Doctor needed comfort and healing. The curator outright suggests that revisiting faces isn't an accident at all. Identity in this universe loops. It echoes. It resurfaces when it's needed. So when you layer all of that together, this regeneration starts to look very different. It isn't about Rose becoming the Doctor. It's about the Doctor choosing a symbol that already exists in the shared language between the show and its audience. A face that communicates stability before a single line of dialogue is even spoken. A visual shorthand for "this still matters." Seen through that lens, the regeneration becomes almost radical in its sincerity. Not a reboot, not a rejection of what came before, but an acknowledgement that things have felt messy. And that sometimes the bravest thing a story can do is remind people why they cared in the first place. That wouldn't be nostalgia as retreat. It would be nostalgia as foundation. Strip the theory down to its core, and it's simple. The Doctor didn't choose Billie Piper's face because of Rose Tyler. He chose it because of us. Because the fandom, fractured, passionate, argumentative, exhausted, needed a face it already trusted. A face that says, "You've been here before, and it worked." So imagine the regeneration ending. The glowing light fully fades. The Doctor stands there, sure, breathing hard, touching their face like they're checking that it's real. Not confused, not horrified, just thoughtful, grounded. No big jokes, no speeches, just a small, knowing smile. Not because everything is fixed, but because the first step has been taken. Not Rose Tyler, not a gimmick, just the Doctor, wearing a face that represents reconnection. A regeneration that isn't about endings at all, but about stitching something back together. Healing the story, healing the audience, healing the bond between them. And honestly, if Doctor Who has always been about change, then choosing to regenerate and to trust might be the most Doctor Who decision of all.